Hey everybody, and welcome to another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be diving into something that I think a lot of you out there are thinking about, and that's how to find an affordable web designer, specifically in Alexandria, Virginia.
Yeah,
It seems like everyone's trying to up their game online these days, especially small businesses. And you know what they say? If you're not online, you don't exist.
I've heard that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we did some digging, and we found some pretty cool sources with some really interesting insights on this. For example, this one source I was looking at earlier was talking about how, like, a small business, a coffee shop, I think it was, completely doubled their sales after they got their website redesigned.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and it was really interesting because it wasn't like a total overhaul of their brand or anything. It was just like, they got some really nice professional photos of their like lattes and cappuccinos and stuff, and they made it super easy for people to order online.
I see. So they really focused on the user experience. Yeah.
Exactly. And that just goes to show you how much of a difference a really good website can make. I mean, think about it. When's the last time you went to a website that was like impossible to navigate or just like ugly, and you're just like, yeah, I'm going to trust this business with my money?
Yeah, you just bounce right off those.
Right, exactly. And speaking of Alexandria, it's not just like a historical landmark, it's actually got a really thriving business community.
It really does.
And that means there are a ton of talented web designers out there who know their stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And, you don't need to be some kind of tech genius to figure this stuff out. There are a ton of designers in Alexandria who specialize in working with small businesses, and they can work with you to create a website that really reflects your brand and your budget.
That's so key, because you don't want to be like, oh yeah, I need a website, and then have them come back with like a $20,000 quote,
Oh, yeah. I've heard horror stories. But what's really important here is to remember that affordable shouldn't mean you have to sacrifice quality.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So then how do you make sure that you're not, getting ripped off, but you're also getting something that's actually good?
Well, this source I was reading, they made a really good point about the importance of support.
Okay, so you mean like after the website's launched and everything?
Exactly. Like what happens if something breaks or you need to update something? You want a designer who's going to be responsive and easy to communicate with, not somebody who's going to ghost you the second they get their check.
Yeah, that makes total sense. You don't want to be left high and dry. So besides support, what else should people be looking for?
This source, and a couple others actually, all agreed that the designer's portfolio is really where it's at. That's where you can see their style, their experience, what kind of projects they've worked on before. You want to look for designs that not only look good, but actually make sense.
So it's not just about being pretty.
No, not at all. A good website should be intuitive, easy to navigate, like a well-designed store. You wouldn't want your customers to get lost trying to find the cash register.
Definitely not. So it sounds like there's more to it than just picking the first name you find on Google.
Oh, for sure. And this is a little further down the line, but this one article I read brought up a really good point about scalability.
Okay, so what do you mean by scalability in this context?
Well, it means that you want to choose a designer who can create a website that can grow with your business. So like, let's say your business takes off and you're suddenly getting way more traffic than you were before.
That's a good problem to have.
It is, but only if your website can handle it. Because if it can't, then you're going to lose customers. And that's the last thing you want. So you want a website that can handle that growth, that can add new features, really evolve as your business evolves.
That's a really good point. I never thought about that. So you got to think long term.
Exactly.
So let's say, you're sold, you're like, I need a website. Where do you even begin to look for a good web designer, especially an affordable one in Alexandria?
Well, that's the fun part. It's like going on a treasure hunt, but for your digital storefront.
I like that.
The sources we found all agreed that it's all about doing your research. Start by browsing online portfolios. There are tons of websites out there where designers showcase their work, see what catches your eye, what speaks to you.
And I'm guessing word of mouth is huge too, especially in a tight-knit community like Alexandria.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to ask around, talk to other business owners, see who they used, and if they were happy with the results.
Yeah, there's nothing like a personal recommendation.
Exactly. And this one source I was reading actually had a really interesting suggestion. They said to consider looking for up-and-coming designers.
Really? Like fresh out of design school?
Yeah. They're often bursting with fresh ideas, and they might be more willing to work with your budget as they're building up their portfolio.
That makes sense. They're hungry.
Exactly. Plus, you get to be one of their first clients, so that's kind of cool.
So it's a win-win. You get a great website at a price you can afford, and they get to add another project to their portfolio. Now, before we wrap this up, there's one more thing I wanted to touch on from the research, and that's the importance of being upfront about your budget from the get-go.
Oh, 100%. Transparency is key in any relationship, especially a professional one.
Right, because otherwise you're both wasting each other's time.
Exactly. Be clear about what you can afford, what your expectations are, and what you're hoping to achieve with your website.
And on that note, as you embark on this exciting journey of creating a killer website for your business, remember that just like Alexandria itself, with its rich history, your website has the potential to be something truly awe-inspiring. Think about what makes your business unique, what story you want to tell, and what kind of online experience will capture the essence of your brand and leave a lasting impression on your visitors.
And remember, you don't have to break the bank to make it happen.
That's right, so go forth and create something amazing.